Success often feels like a double-edged sword. On one hand, it is the fruit of your courage, discipline, and resilience. On the other, it can unexpectedly reveal the truth about people around you, their insecurities, unspoken resentments, and hidden fears. The more you rise, the more clearly you see who stands with you and who secretly hopes to see you stumble. This is not to create paranoia, but awareness, because awareness gives you power, the power to guard your energy, protect your heart, and keep moving forward without being sabotaged by someone else's hidden bitterness. The silent competitor is not loud. They don't openly challenge you or argue with your wins. Instead, they exist in a strange tension, watching you carefully, measuring your every step, but never giving you the dignity of acknowledgement. They are the ones who scroll through your updates without leaving a word of encouragement. They sit in meetings when your ideas shine, but refuse to nod in agreement. Their silence is strategic. It's their way of withholding recognition, as if celebrating you would cost them something. This silence can be confusing, even painful, because we often expect success to draw people closer to us, not create distance. But when someone has chosen to secretly compete with you, your victories become their quiet defeats. Instead of seeing your success as proof of what's possible for them, they treat it as a mirror reflecting what they haven't achieved. And that unspoken comparison becomes a prison they cannot escape. The danger here is not always their envy. It's the way their silence can seep into your spirit. When the people you thought would cheer the loudest don't clap at all, you start to wonder if your accomplishments really matter. You start to question whether you're being too much, whether you should tone it down, whether you're wrong for taking up space. This is how silent competitors wound you, not with words, but with absence. But here's the truth. Their silence says more about them than it does about you. A lack of applause doesn't erase your effort. A refusal to celebrate you doesn't shrink your achievement. What you built, what you earned, what you overcame, it stands whether they recognize it or not. So you must learn to anchor your sense of worth in something deeper than other people's validation. Celebrate your own victories loudly. Stand tall in your progress, even if the room feels quiet. And remember this, when someone cannot clap for you, it often means they are still fighting battles within themselves. You don't need their affirmation to keep climbing. You only need the courage to stay faithful to your own journey. The constant critic is the person who never lets you breathe without reminding you of where you could do better. They carry a magnifying glass, always scanning for imperfections, never allowing themselves to see the full picture of your progress. You could climb a mountain, and instead of honoring the strength it took to get there, they'll point out that you didn't take the fastest route. You could write a book, and instead of celebrating the courage it took to share your voice, they'll highlight the one page where your words weren't perfect. Criticism in itself is not harmful. Constructive feedback can actually shape us and help us grow. But the constant critic is different. Their words are not designed to build you, but to break you. Their tone is not rooted in love, but in insecurity. They often carry unspoken jealousy or disappointment in themselves, and they project it onto you as if tearing you down will somehow lift them up. The danger of the constant critic is subtle but powerful. They can make you start internalizing their negativity. Over time, their constant pointing out of flaws can cause you to question your worth, to shrink your victories, to second-guess your abilities. You begin to hear their voice even when they're not in the room. Their criticism becomes the echo in your mind, and you start criticizing yourself more harshly than they ever could. But here's the truth. Criticism reveals more about the critic than it does about the one being criticized. A person who is secure in themselves has no need to constantly tear others apart. A person who has tasted their own success has no reason to resent yours. The constant critic is often battling their own feelings of inadequacy, and your progress feels like salt on their unhealed wounds. You must learn the art of discernment. Not all voices deserve equal weight in your life. Feedback that is rooted in honesty, kindness, and the desire to see you grow is a gift. But words spoken out of bitterness, jealousy, or insecurity are poison. And the wisest thing you can do is refuse to drink it. Guard your heart against the constant critic. Do not let their negativity define your narrative. Every time they minimize your progress, remind yourself of the courage it took to even start. Every time they try to find fault, remember the battles they never saw you fight just to get here. You are not called to be perfect. You are called to be brave. And bravery will always invite criticism from those who chose comfort instead. So let them talk. Let them find flaws. Let them criticize from the sidelines while you keep running your race. Because in the end, it's not the critic who counts. It's the one who dared to show up, to try, and to succeed despite the noise. This type of person is one of the hardest to read because they wear the mask of encourage. Lament while slipping daggers between their words. On the surface, they appear to celebrate you. They say the right things. I'm so happy for you. Wow, you've really done well. You deserve it. But the undertone carries something sharp, something laced with comparison or doubt. Their support is never clean. It is always mixed with a hidden sting. You've done great, wow, for someone your age. That's impressive, but let's see if you can keep it up. You're lucky to have these opportunities. Notice the pattern. It's praise that undermines, compliments wrapped in poison. What they're really saying is, I see your success, but I need to remind you that you're not as great as you think. The backhanded supporter is dangerous because they confuse you emotionally. Their words come with a smile, so at first you try to take them as genuine encouragement. But deep down, something feels off. You leave conversations with them questioning yourself instead of feeling uplifted. And that is their goal, to appear supportive while subtly planting seeds of doubt in your spirit. Why do they do this? Often it comes from a place of insecurity. Your success exposes their own unfulfilled dreams. Cheering for you wholeheartedly feels like admitting their own lack. So instead they choose the middle ground, clapping with one hand while holding a knife in the other. It is their way of saying, I see you, but I refuse to let you shine brighter than me. Here's what makes this even more painful. Backhanded supporters are usually people close to you, friends, colleagues, even family. Because they are in your inner circle, their words carry more weight. A stranger's criticism rolls off your back, but when someone close to you masks envy as encouragement, it cuts deeper. But here's the truth you must hold on to. Their half-hearted praise is not a reflection of your worth. It is a mirror of their wounds. People who are whole can celebrate you without hesitation. People who are grounded can honor your victories without needing to diminish them. The backhanded supporter is revealing not your weakness, but their inability to give love without conditions. You must learn to spot them. Pay attention to how you feel after conversations. Do you feel built up or torn down? Encouraged or unsettled? Real support leaves you lighter. Counterfeit support leaves you heavy. Once you identify the difference, you can protect your heart by not internalizing their mixed messages. Stand firm in your success. Do not shrink yourself to make their fragile ego comfortable. Do not edit your victories to fit into their limited worldview. Your shine is not too much. It is exactly enough. And anyone who cannot clap without cutting does not deserve a front row seat in your journey. The historian is the person who cannot allow you to evolve. They are trapped in the image of who you used to be, and they refuse to let go of that picture, even when reality proves otherwise. No matter how much you grow, change, and rise, they keep dragging your past into the present as if your history is the sum total of your destiny. When you succeed, they remind you of the failures you once endured. I remember when you struggled to keep a job. Didn't you used to fail at this kind of thing? You've changed too much. I like the old you better. At first, it might feel like they're just being honest or keeping you grounded, but if you listen closely, you'll hear the intention beneath their words. It isn't about balance, it's about limitation. Their constant reminders of who you once were are designed to clip your wings so you don't fly too high. The historian thrives on keep. Ing you in their narrative, because if they can convince themselves and others that you're still the person you used to be, they don't have to deal with the discomfort of your growth. Your transformation unsettles them. It forces them to look at their own stagnation, their own unhealed wounds, their own abandoned dreams. And instead of rising with you, they choose the easier path, anchoring you to your past. This can be one of the most painful types to deal with, because the historian is often someone who's known you the longest. Family members, old friends, childhood acquaintances. They have a file cabinet of your mistakes, and they open it whenever your present success threatens their comfort. And because they've been in your life for so long, their words carry a dangerous weight. You may even start to believe them. Maybe I haven't really changed. Maybe I don't deserve this. Maybe I'll always be the same person I was back then. But here's the truth. You are not defined by your past. You are refined by it. Growth is the evidence that your history did not destroy you, but taught you. Every mistake you made, every wrong turn you took, every failure you survived, it all became the soil for the person you are now. Your past is not a prison, it is a classroom. And you owe no one an explanation for your transformation. You don't have to argue with the historian. You don't have to prove your evolution. You don't even have to convince them that you've changed. Your life speaks louder than their words. Your consistency will silence their reminders. So when the historian shows up, don't waste your energy fighting their narrative. Instead, keep living in such a way that your present outshines your past. Let your growth speak for itself. Let your peace, your resilience, your success tell the story. Because the most powerful response to someone who chains you to who you were is T. Oh, keep unapologetically becoming who you were always meant to be. The subtle saboteur is one of the most dangerous types you'll ever encounter because they do not attack you directly. They don't openly oppose you, and they rarely confront you face to face. Instead, they work quietly, behind the scenes, planting seeds of doubt, suspicion, or division, sometimes so carefully that you don't even realize you're being undermined until the damage is already done. This person wears the mask of friendliness, but beneath it lies envy or resentment. They might smile in your presence, but their words in your absence tell a different story. They whisper to others about your weaknesses, exaggerate your mistakes, or misrepresent your motives. They may never say, I don't like you, but they'll make sure people around you begin to question whether you can really be trusted, whether you deserve the opportunities you've been given, whether your success is as authentic as it seems. The danger of the subtle saboteur is their skill at hiding. Unlike critics who are loud or competitors who are obvious, saboteurs move in silence. They don't just want to discourage you, they want to destabilize the environment around you. They attack your reputation, not just your confidence. And because they operate quietly, you may even mislabel them as supportive. Their weapon is suggestion. A raised eyebrow, a half sentence, a casual remark that leaves others wondering. I mean, they're doing well, but you never know what's really going on. These small deposits of doubt, repeated enough times, can shape how others see you. And in that subtle way, they chip at the foundation of the trust you've worked so hard to build. Here's the hard truth. The subtle saboteur is often someone close enough to have access. They're not random strangers. They are colleagues, friends, sometimes even family. That's what makes their actions sting so much. They had the choice to stand with you, but instead they chose to erode you in secret. So how do you protect yourself? The first step is awareness. Learn to pay attention not just to what people say to you, but also how the atmosphere shifts after them. Do you notice tension in spaces where there used to be harmony? Do you find people suddenly questioning your intentions for no clear reason? That's often the fingerprint of a saboteur at work. But here's the good news. Truth has a way of outlasting lies. You don't need to chase every rumor or defend yourself against every whisper. Integrity is your strongest shield. When you live with consistency, when your actions match your words, when your fruit speaks louder than their stories, eventually people will see the difference. The subtle saboteur may delay your progress, but they cannot destroy your purpose. They may tarnish your name temporarily, but they cannot cancel the calling on your life. The best way to overcome them is not by fighting them in the shadows, but by continuing to shine in the light. So guard your energy, protect your circle, and never let someone else's whispers cause you to doubt your worth. If you keep walking with clarity and integrity, their sabotage will collapse under the weight of truth. Not everyone who resents your success does so out of malice. Sometimes it comes from pain. This is the person who once walked alongside you, same dreams, same struggles, same beginnings, but somewhere along the way, life pulled you forward and left them standing still. And while they care about you, your progress highlights the gap between where they are and where they wish they could be. This type of person doesn't always hate you. They hate the reflection of themselves that your success brings to the surface. Your achievements become a reminder of the opportunities they didn't take, the risks they avoided, or the habits they couldn't to maintain. And because pain and comparison are powerful forces, their admiration for you becomes tangled with quiet resentment. At first, you may notice small shifts. They stop calling as often, they show up less in your life, or their enthusiasm for your wins feels muted. Their distance is not always because they dislike you. It's because being near you now stirs feelings of inadequacy in themselves. They are grieving their own unfulfilled potential, and your growth makes that grief louder. The danger here is emotional guilt. You might feel tempted to dim your light to make them comfortable. You may hold back on sharing your wins or celebrating your milestones because you don't want to remind them of their pain. But shrinking yourself will not heal them. It will only hurt you, and it will rob the world of the impact your full potential could create. Here's the truth. You are not responsible for carrying the weight of someone else's journey. You can love people, you can encourage them, you can even extend a hand to help, but you cannot halt your progress to soothe their discomfort. Their healing is their responsibility. Their growth is their choice. And your success is not a betrayal of them. It is a reflection of what's possible for both of you. Still, this doesn't mean you dismiss them coldly. Compassion matters. The one who feels left behind often needs understanding, not judgment. But compassion doesn't mean compromise. You can acknowledge their pain without dimming your own fire. You can care for them without carrying their load. So if you ever sense that someone close to you is struggling with your success, release yourself from the guilt. You are not leaving them behind to punish them. You are walking the path you were meant to walk. And sometimes the greatest gift you can give them is to keep moving, because your courage might be the very thing that inspires them to start again. Perhaps the most painful of all the types is the masked friend, the one you trusted, the one who sat at you. Our table, the one you believed would always be in your corner. On the outside, they wear the mask of loyalty, but underneath, they wrestle with envy, bitterness, or quiet resentment. And the hardest part is that you rarely see it at first, because their betrayal doesn't always come with big explosions. It shows up in small shifts, subtle changes, almost invisible signs. The masked friend is often the person who used to cheer the loudest for you. In the early days of your journey, when you were still dreaming, still building, still struggling, they were there, clapping, encouraging, supporting. But as your success grew, something shifted. Maybe it was their own unhealed wounds. Maybe it was the comparisons they began to make. Maybe it was simply that your growth made them feel left behind. Whatever the reason, their support turned into resentment. You notice it in little things. Their responses become slower. Their excitement for your milestones feels forced. They downplay your achievements with quick dismissals like, "That's good, but what's next?" They may still smile in your face, but their tone carries a subtle edge. And when you're not around, their words about you are not as kind as they once were. What makes the masked friend so dangerous is the trust you've given them. They know your vulnerabilities, your fears, your weaknesses, because you once believed they were safe with them. And if they choose to, they can use that knowledge against you, not always directly, but by withdrawing support at moments you need it most, or by quietly questioning your character in rooms you can't defend yourself. The betrayal of the masked friend cuts deeper than the criticism of a stranger because betrayal is always personal. It hurts not just because of what they do, but because of who they are to you. You expected resistance from competitors. You expected envy from strangers. You never expected distance or deception from someone you called a friend. Here's what you must remember. Friendship built on the condition of sameness cannot survive growth. If someone could only love you when you were struggling, but cannot handle you when you are thriving, then what they loved was not you. It was the comfort of standing beside someone who made them feel equal. And when that balance shifted, their loyalty cracked. But even in this pain, there is wisdom. The masked friend teaches you discernment. They remind you that not everyone who starts with you is meant to finish with you. They show you that love without authenticity is fragile and that true friends are the ones who can celebrate your rise without feeling threatened by it. So if you discover a masked friend in your life, don't let the wound turn into bitterness. You don't need to expose them, fight them, or carry anger toward them. Simply release them. Protect your peace, guard your energy, and let them fall away if they cannot rise with you. Because the friends who are meant to stay will never wear a mask. They will celebrate you fully, loudly, and without fear of your shine. Of all the people who might resent your success, none is more dangerous than the one who lives inside of you, the inner hater. That quiet, cruel voice that whispers doubt into your mind at the very moment you should be celebrating your victories. It's the voice that says, "You don't deserve this. They're going to find out you're not good enough. It's only a matter of time before it all falls apart." Unlike the critics, competitors, or saboteurs outside of you, the inner hater has the greatest access. It knows your insecurities, your mistakes, your fears, and it uses them against you at the moments you're most vulnerable. You could be standing in the middle of your greatest achievement, holding the degree, launching the business, leading the team, standing on the stage, and still hear that, "Hi, sperma, this doesn't really belong to you." Where does this voice come from? Often it's an echo of words spoken to you long ago by parents, teachers, peers, or people who never believed in your potential. Over time, you absorbed their doubts and began repeating them to yourself. The inner hater is not always original. It borrows its language from every wound you've ever carried, every rejection you've ever faced, every moment you felt small. And here's the danger. When that voice goes unchallenged, it grows louder than any outside critic. It convinces you to self-sabotage. It tells you not to apply, not to try, not to step forward because failure is inevitable. It convinces you to shrink, to stay silent, to hide your light because shining feels unsafe. It can even convince you to reject the very opportunities you've been praying for because you believe deep down you're not worthy of them. But here is the truth you must hold on to. The inner hater is a liar. Your success is not an accident. Your progress is not fraud. What you have achieved is the fruit of persistence, courage, sacrifice, and resilience. You did not stumble here by mistake. You grew here by choice. The way to defeat the inner hater is not by ignoring it, but by replacing it. You must learn to speak a louder truth to yourself. When it says you're not enough, you respond, I am growing, I am learning, I am worthy. When it says this success won't last, you remind yourself, even if I face setbacks, I have proven I can rise again. When it says you don't belong here, you declare, I built this space with my own hands and I belong wherever my courage leads me. This is not arrogance, it is self-compassion. Because the opposite of self-hatred is not pride, it is truth. And the truth is your value has never been negotiable. The inner hater will always try to speak, but you get to choose whether to have a problem or it becomes your master or just background noise. So silence the inner hater with evidence. Look at how far you've come. Look at what you've overcome. Look at the doors you've walked through, the challenges you've endured, the growth you've fought for. Let your own story be the loudest testimony that you are not an imposter. You are a survivor, a creator, a builder, a dreamer, and a doer. Because in the end, the most important supporter you will ever have is yourself. And when your inner voice becomes your greatest cheerleader instead of your greatest critic, there is nothing, absolutely nothing, that can stop you from rising. My friends, envy is not always loud. It doesn't always show itself through shouting, confrontation, or open hostility. Most times it lives in whispers, hidden in smiles,